We thought that it would behoove our interests if we went to the Charter Bank of England, because we heard this is the most prestigious bank. And we actually got the Prime Minister's solicitor, Lord Goodman, because we thought that was prestigious and it would help us. So I was standing in the line at the Charter Bank, and a man comes up and says, "Do you know Sam Sundar?" And I said, "Yes, and actually he's here." "He's here? I know him from San Francisco." So he came with us, and he said, "We have a place in right in this neighborhood near the British Museum. What a great location. High Holborn, British Museum, metaphysical bookstores, everything. I mean, it was even more better than we even realized. However, we needed the zoning, so we go to Bury Place, and now, from the 7 of us, now there's 30 or 35 devotees, because we used to chant at the Arts Laboratory, which was the place. All the squatters came. Christine Keeler came, who brought down the Profumo government. All the young people, they came, and we chanted 3 nights a week, and it was a great place. So it was zoned as a Bible dispensary, but only 2 people were supposed to live there. And so now there's 35 of us. So by this time, George is our friend, and he came to our temple, and then we went to his house and chanted. So he says to John, "You just got a new estate, Tittenhurst Park, near Windsor, so maybe the devotees can go there and live," because the warehouse was not big enough. And we were having to start to live separately, and that was counterproductive. So we all moved out to John Lennon's estate. And in the meantime, Samarshunda brought redwood to build the temple. He had that vision, redwood from California. So he's building the temple. So the temple's finally built, but the neighbor was complaining that the noise was bothering him. Now, in the Mahabharata, Krishna plays a trick on the enemy. There's a son named Aswatthama and an elephant named Aswatthama. So Krishna says to Yudhisthira, whose chariot never touched the ground because he never lied, that you say Aswatthama the elephant is dead. And so Yudhisthira Maharaj says, "Aswatthama the elephant is dead." And when he said elephant, Krishna blew his conch shell. Ooh! And then this morning we saw how many tricks Krishna played on Abhimanyu, this delightful interchange. So we thought if Krishna can be tricky and bold, maybe we should. And I don't know, maybe it's American or whatever, but we did it. And I say to people, don't do this at home. It's not necessarily spiritual, but it is. So the neighbor was complaining, and we said that the temple is soundproof. Meanwhile, part of the story is we wanted to meet the second person on our list, Tom Driberg, Member of Parliament. We couldn't get to meet him. We went to House of Commons. The secretaries wouldn't let us. So then we heard Tom Driberg had an eye operation. So in the spirit of boldness again, in the spirit of adventure, spirit of walking to your own drum, spirit of relying on Krishna, we went to the hospital because he was having an eye exam, and we brought tapes. What a perfect thing. If he can't see, he can hear. So we go to the hospital, and if you've heard our 2 records we made with the Beatles, my wife Jamuna is the lead singer, and she has a booming voice. So she goes, we all go, the 7 of us. "Oh, Mr. Driberg, we've been wanting to meet you." And he starts shaking and shaking, and the arrows, the hospital thing was going like this and was starting to flatline, which means he was dying. So the nurses and doctors are reviving him, and we hear from across the room, "I'm Mr. Driberg." So we went boom, boom, boom across, "Mr. Driberg, we're so happy to meet you." The same thing. Well, we gave him tapes. He liked us. He was a poet at heart. But again, stranger than fiction, he did help us, but it turned out that he was a double agent for the CID and the KGB, working with Kim Philby. Stranger than fiction. But he helped us so much. So he wrote a letter, "This temple is soundproof," on House of Commons stationery. It wasn't. So this neighbor said, "When I hear the sound of you," he didn't call it singing, I forget the adjective, but he says, "when that goes through the wall, my wife faints and my dog jumps up and down and goes, yip, yip, yip." So then it was time for all the officials to come and say whether we can zone it or not. And he had the fencing Olympic champion as a solicitor, and we had Lord Goodman. And they're there, and there's no seats. We had to borrow seats from the Theosophical Society. We sit people down on the top floor, but we then go down to the temple room. And so in the temple room was the redwood, and in the door was a big window. Big window. And so when the door was open, we chanted loudly. And so I had kartals, the cymbals. And so this is what happened. It's like, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Door closes. Mridanga, boom, 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 boom. Door closes. We mimed hitting the drum. So door open, boom, 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 boom. Door closes. Silent. And also, we were singing Hare Krishna and Hare Bol. Door closes. We mimed it. Hare Krishna, Hare Bol. So the man says, Mr. French, he says, the officials say, "How can you say that it's going through the wall? We can't even hear it in the hall. How can you say that your wife's fainting and your dog goes yip, yip, yip?" And he said, "It's a bloody trick." He goes to leave. His fencing solicitor says, "Just as we're coming to the crunch, you leave." And he says, "Bloody right, I'm leaving." And the doorknob comes out in his hand, and he's like a raccoon caught in the lights. And he clawed open the door, and 35 sleeping bags fell out. It was only supposed to be 2 caretakers. But the officials said, because George Harrison is your guarantor, and because we feel it is soundproof, you can have the zoning. So that's what happened at Bury Place. And then we moved in, and my guru, Prabhupada, said, "This is a family." He said, "It's not artificial. We don't like artificial spirituality. We don't like it. We want to be real in our quest." And so he said, "This is a family, and you're the father and Jamuna's the mother." And then scientifically he proved it. He said there's celibate students, brahmacharis, men and women, and they're so happy in their Krishna consciousness that they don't mix until they want to get married. But it was a family temple. It was a beautiful temple, and this family feeling. We started all the temples with love and trust and wanting each other to succeed. One of our principles is das anu das, that we want to serve each other. I want you to succeed, you want me to succeed, and I'll help you and you'll help me.